dear friends and net aspirants. What is it, guys? How are you all? I hope you are doing great in your lives, whatever endeavors you are currently working upon. I hope very best for you. Now let's begin. Today we are going to learn about postmodernism, Lyotard and postmodern conditions. So welcome to yet another brand new video lecture of High Point again. Today's topic is postmodernism. So we are going to learn about various thinkers' opinion about postmodernism, how they are viewing postmodernism. So today we will look at Lyotard and postmodern conditions, so his major concepts. So before that we will have an introduction about postmodernism. So we actually had many videos related to cultural studies, and cultural studies are very much interested in postmodern tendencies, how the postmodern thinkers looking at various cultural artifacts, and how postmodern tendencies especially after Second World War, how it influenced major theories as well as major cultures of societies. Okay, so since if it is related to human being, it is related to culture, and if it is related to culture, that is at most interest in cultural studies as well. So yeah, if you are interested in having free materials, study materials, don't forget to follow me on Instagram. My ID is right here because we are doing so many things in Instagram. If you are missing it, then you are really missing it. Okay, so don't miss anything there that we have provided there. Come to our Instagram ID and follow me, and say this to your friends too, and make use of everything that we are providing there. And if you are still not subscribed to my channel in here, then again you are missing out many more things that we are providing there chronologically, and one by one we are planning many things in 2022, as well as many things already we have provided there. So don't miss any of these free study materials for NTA UGC NET JRF, and if you are really striving for NET JRF in 2022. And also if you are looking for some comprehensible, simplified, well arranged study material, online study material, then you can go to our website known as www.highpoint.in, in which we have simplified the entire NTA UGC NET JRF syllabus for you under 11 topics, and inside each of these topics we have given elaborate amount or immense amount of study materials, and sum total you can find 900 plus audio lectures, 300 plus PDF downloadable materials, and also more than 3000 questions for you to attempt and know your marks once you submit your responses. So along with all these facilities and study materials, you will get 2 more bonuses once you join for either of the courses that we are offering there for now. Which are they? First one is a weekly test. Every other week in Saturdays you will get weekly test, and you can attempt them, and you can know your progress and further information about whatever you have learned, and that will keep you consistent in your studies. And the second thing that you will get is that you will have, once you join for the course, you will have a personalized study guideline, which is not prepared by us according to our prepared according to our own whims and fancies, but we have certain rules, certain strategies to follow. According to that, and according to your schedules and preferences of topic, we will customize the study guideline for you, for your friend. If your friend is also joining, then that study guideline will be different for that person, okay, not as same as you. Okay, so you can follow that. These are some suggestions. You can follow that in order to be consistent in your studies, in order to be motivated while you are studying for NTA UGC NET JRF English Language and Literature. So if you want to know more about our website or the contents and courses that we are providing there, don't hesitate to call me or WhatsApp me in this given number. From our website too, you can message me, and from my website you can easily join by completing certain small procedures. And yeah, a 15% of off is also going on, so I don't want you to waste any more time for starting your learning process, for starting your course with us. So contact us if you want more information, and you can join us and you can start studying from today itself. Okay, so and also other than these things, we are also maintaining a WhatsApp group in which I am sharing daily quiz question and answer, and also some news and updates related to NTA UGC net along with some study materials, study cards and all. You can join that WhatsApp group. The link is there in the description box, and also you can message me or call me and I'll share you the link, and you and your friends, those who are interested, can join them easily. Okay, isn't that great? If you want all these free materials available there, come and follow us in all these platforms. Okay, now let's move on to the main focus of this video, postmodernism, Lyotard and postmodern condition. Let's have the introduction about postmodernism. What is postmodernism? We will generally refer the time period of postmodernism is our contemporary time, right, after World War II, and up to this contemporary time, we are referring as postmodernism. Whatever comes after modernism is postmodernism, right? So postmodernism in terms of culture rejected high or elite culture or lower mass culture. So basically they are not giving any legitimacy, or they are not considering anything as so important. Okay, postmodernist or postmodern theory, they are actually rejecting everything that are there as high or low or mass or elite. Okay, they are not giving any particular privilege to high or elite culture from the cultural point of view. Okay, and any particular culture as low or mass culture. And postmodernism questions the criteria by which certain forms, text or assumptions are projected as good taste, classic or permanent and universal. So we often refer our myths. Take the holy scripts such as Bible, Bhagavad Gita or Ramayana or any other Quran. So all these things are permanent. We refer them as permanent and universal. Universal, this is always and every time, anywhere applicable. So we are assuming certain things and we are giving status to certain things as tactic, as classical, as of good taste, as of elite or high or low or mass. They actually reject all these criteria that we have in our mind when we give certain forms, certain text, certain assumptions, certain beliefs as static, permanent, unchanging, universal, good taste or classic. It actually questions every other criteria that you have in your mind when you put something as permanent, when you believe something as classic, when you believe something as universal. Okay, so that is the basic idea of postmodernism, and it rejects the claim of any universal or totalizing theory. So it rejects the idea that there is a total truth, there is an ultimate truth or meaning, or it rejects the idea that there is something that is universal, whether it is a holy script, whether it is a religious script, whether it is a myth, whether it is a classical work, whether it is any other culture. So they actually reject and they actually revoke the idea, the claim that there is an existence of universal in the sense which is applicable to everyone in this world, which is applicable to anywhere in this world, which is applicable to any time that we are going to have in the future or in the past, or had in the past. Okay, it rejects that kind of universality or totalizing tendencies that we have in society, or totalizing theories that we have in society. It celebrates plurality. So instead of celebrating universality or totalizing tendencies and theories associated to certain text forms and assumptions, it celebrates the plurality of truth, heterogeneity, and small and local, innovative, marginalized and unfinished narratives that respect differences and specificities of culture, individuals and regions. See, we can actually connect with this because they are talking about our own contemporary times. So postmodernism is that thing that actually celebrates plurality. See, what was deconstruction? If you remember some previous videos that we had in this lecture series, structuralism or deconstruction was all about the instability of meaning, the slippery nature of meaning, right? You cannot arrive at an ultimate signifier. A sign is composed of signifier and signified, right? Signifier is a word or a sound, and signified is the meaning associated to that word or that sound, right? So whenever we hear or see a word or something, not only a word or any other sign, any other image or something, we have a certain kind of meaning arised in our mind, if you are familiar with that sign, right? But you just cannot arrive at the ultimate signified, in the sense that when you look at the meaning of a word, it actually gives you a pool of other words, which is again a signifier that will lead to another set of signifiers. So it will always, the meaning will always deferred, and meaning is always deferred to. That means a cat is not a bat, it is not a sat, it is not a bat, it is not a bat. So that's how a cat is a cat. It is related to other words in difference, right? So meaning is deferred and deferred. So in order to denote these two words, Derrida came up with a difference, right, if you remember. So there we have plurality of meaning. There we have a slipperiness of meaning. So since we cannot arrive at a particular meaning, how can anything be universal? How can anything be ultimate? How can any other belief system can provide this ultimate meaning or ultimate kind of truth, ultimate kind of universal totalizing theory? How can it be possible? So that postmodernism celebrates plurality. They see that there are different kind of meanings. Meaning is not same for everyone. Nothing is same for everyone. It is plural. So take the example of sexualities. Okay, so far maybe in up to modern times or before modern times, we only discussed about hetero kind of sexuality. But now we are discussing gay sexuality, lesbian sexuality, bisexual sexuality, many queer sexuality. So different kind of plural kind of, not only one or two, but plural, different kinds of things. So same goes with any other concept. Okay, so they celebrate plurality, heterogeneity, and small. Need not to be totalizing or universal, but small, indigenous, localized, innovative, which is different from what was existing there before, which is actually bring about any changes, and marginalized. See, in the mainstream literature, in mainstream of anything, you cannot find this marginalized group of people. So now we are celebrating that literature. Now we are celebrating female literature, or feminist literature. Now we are discussing about queer literature, trauma literature, marginalized kind of literature we are celebrating. An unfinished narrative, there is no need that you finish this narrative, but fragmented narratives we can find. And even literature, even we cannot find this distinction between genres. So it is not necessary that you fully write a poetry. Inside a poetry you can find various other kind of genres, mix of genres, pastiche, and meta narratives you can find in here. So they respect postmodernism, respect differences and specificities of cultures. It's not that one culture is superior and another culture is inferior, but every culture has its own specificities and differences. They celebrate it, and individuals and regions too. Okay, and meaning is seen as differential, contingent, and plurally arbitrary. So meaning is not related to, it is arbitrary. There is no one-to-one relation between what we have as a science system and its meaning. The meaning is derived because of the customized use, or the customs that we are following, not because that this entire system holds the meaning in itself. So all those things discussed while we were discussing about the structuralism and all. Okay, meaning is seen as differential. Different kinds of meanings are possible. The meaning that you have in your mind may not be the same meaning that I have in my mind. Take the example of the word apple. Okay, take the example of apple. So when you hear the word apple, the image that you have in your mind is different from the image that I have in my mind. You may be thinking about the apple, the fruit apple, but I am thinking about the Apple mobile phone and anything related to that gadget. Okay, So in that way, meanings are this is a simple example, but same goes with grand narrative, same goes with this universal permanent kind of text and assumptions that we have. The meaning is different and contingent and also purely arbitrary. There is no one-to-one connection. The process of representation seeks not to offer any insight into reality or truth. So, in a postmodern condition, in a postmodern representation, it actually celebrates these things. But it is not saying that these plural or heterogeneous or local or small or innovative or marginalized things are universal. They are actually not trying to give an insight into reality or truth. They are not telling that this is the ultimate truth, but simply they are celebrating this plurality. Simply they are celebrating the arbitrariness of meaning and differential and contingent nature of meaning. Okay. In literature, it collapses the distinction between genre and conventions, making it impossible to distinguish between reality and illusion. So, inside the same genre, you will find illusion and reality coexisting. It actually collapses the distinction, the demarcation between different kind of genres, different kind of conventions. But it mixes everything so well that we will find it very difficult to distinguish and demarcate between reality and illusion for both the readers and for the characters as well. Okay. So these are some of the introductory ideas that we have to understand about postmodernism. Now let's see Lyotard and the postmodern condition. So postmodern condition is a major question or major thing that Lyotard was put forwarded. Lyotard characterizes the postmodern as a disbelief in and resistance to meta-narratives. So, meta-narratives are those narratives that seek to explain and address universal conditions while assuming that these explanations suit all contexts and locations. Take the example of Bible. It's like we consider this meta-narrative. It's a grand narrative. Meta-narratives are grand narratives, and these grand narratives or any other religious script you can take for an example. Okay, take as an example. So, these narratives, they explain things. They address to situation, they explain many situations and things inside them, and they assume a position of universality, a universal condition. When they tell about sinners, when they tell about sexuality, when they tell about females, then when they tell about human beings, they assume a universal position and they explain the thing in such a way that it is applicable to everyone. It is applicable to every other context and every other place, every other location, every other situation, every other person, and it is unquestionable. So it is presenting its ideas and explanations, addressing in such a way that it is universally applicable to everyone, every other context, in every other time. So that is the problem with these meta-narratives. So Lyotard says that postmodernism is a disbelief and also a resistance, as a kind of a rejection and resistance to these kind of meta-narratives. Not only in religious scriptures, these are familiar, but also in some classical works too we can find this. Okay. Now let's move on to the first thing that Lyotard says. The disbelief towards meta-narratives is the disillusionment with the totalizing explanation of reality. So when you disbelieve, when you resist, when you reject such kind of meta-narratives, universal narratives kinds, then you have a problem with the totalizing explanation of reality. You cannot you cannot explain reality in the same way. You cannot see reality. Reality is not same with everywhere, anywhere. It depends upon people, it depends upon the location, it depends upon the culture, it depends upon the group of people involved in it, it depends upon the time, and depends upon many other things. So you just cannot explain you cannot give a totalizing explanation of any of the reality that you find around you. So when you disbelieve the meta-narratives, that means that you have some disillusionment, you have some problems and issues with the totalizing explanation of reality. This includes the narratives of science, philosophy and religion. So the narratives that we can find in science assumes a position that it is totally away from any kind of subjectivity, but at the same time it suppresses many things that is not actually going in connection with this scientific philosophy that they are presenting. and it is also an oppressive method too. Those who have no access to scientific knowledges, there is a tendency that those who have the access to these knowledges, they will suppress that they will use it as a tool to control other people. And philosophy and religious narratives are included in this section of meta-narratives. Now, take the example that Marxist ideal of an emancipatory agenda and Christian narratives of redemption, they reject differences and variations at local, individual and regional level of favor of an overarching universal program and explanation. See, take the example of Marxist idea. The problem with the Marxist idea is that they consider this Marxist idea, and they are, those who are following them, they are taking them as it is. They are not adopting Marxist idea according to the requirements of the people, according to the requirements of that culture, according to the requirements of that particular society, but they are taking as it is. So wherever this Marxist idea is is used, take the example of any of the Marxist communities that you can find in this planet, they are somewhat failures. Because why? Because they are acting like a grand narrative. They are actually rejecting any kind of differences, any kind of variations. See, Marx belonged to Europe, right? He came up with some ideas, some concepts as Marxist ideas, suitable to his own culture, his own way of thinking, his own time period in which he brought about that, right? But when we take that idea, we have to adopt that to our own cultural individual religion and regional variations, right? Otherwise it will be a failure. That exactly happened in this world. You can check with further information what I have said just now. And also Christian narrative also, their narrative about redemption or any other holy scripture, you can see that they all reject these differences and variations at local level from as a universal idea they are presenting. They are not looking at the local differences, individual differences. The reality of the individuals are totally different in everywhere and anywhere. Okay, they are not favoring these differences. They are not looking and respecting these variations. Okay, they are actually presenting a universal kind of program and explanation that is applicable, that they assume that they are applicable to any time, anywhere and any place. Okay, but postmodernism is a thing that goes against and disbelieve these meta narratives. Now, the second point that he makes here is that these knowledges and explanations are therefore tyrannical. See, these meta-narratives provide some knowledges, explanations, and they are addressing situation without considering the individual and local flavors and differences that generally people have with each other, so that they act as tyrannical. So, tyranny means a tyrant will be there according to his whims and fancies. Everything will happen in a society. So it's like that. These meta narratives, their knowledges and explanations, they are tyrannical in nature and they are oppressive because they ignore differences in order to impose a false unity of knowledge and reality. There is no such thing known as ultimate knowledge, ultimate reality, ultimate truth, ultimate meaning. It is not possible to arrive at. Even for the simple things, you cannot arrive at ultimate things. So since they are ignoring these differences in order to impose this kind of universal unity of knowledge and reality, which is false, which is not true, so that's why they are acting like tyrannical and oppressive. Their explanations and knowledges are tyrannical and oppressive in nature. And these knowledges also conceal beneath an apparent objectivity their tactics of terror. See, they will use, it's not that obviously they will come and they'll explain all these things, but they will assume a position of objectivity in order to circulate this universal knowledge and explanation, tyrannical and oppressive kind of knowledges and all. They will assume, they will conceal their tyrannical and oppressive knowledges beneath the apparent objectivity. They will assume an objective vantage position and they will use the tactic of terror. Take the example of Christian ideology. Okay, Christian ideology is like that. See, when you take your birth itself, you are sinful because of the sin done by the ancient forefathers, ancient mother and father, right? So Adam and Eve, they have committed disobedience and they have committed sin. So that is there with you while you take your birth. So that you have to get baptized. And if only you live here on this earth by considering the Christian beliefs, by obliging to the clerical things, and by living in communion with the Christian ideologies and Christian beliefs, in communion with the God, then only you will get redemption and you can go to the heaven and see the God. So it's a kind of terror and warning they are mainly propagating, but they are propagating all this terror and tactics beneath or using an apparent objectivity. They assume themselves as so objective, not subjective, but they will actually spreading this kind of tyrannical and oppressive idea. Take the example of any holy script or any political kind of scripts. You can find this kind of tyrannical and oppressive things are going on, explanation about things are going on. Lyotard suggests that scientists and scientific discourses are not employed to disseminate truth but to augment power. So in order to have power, if you remember what I have told about Foucault's concepts about power and knowledge, knowledge is not used in order to disseminate truth, in order to make people educate about certain things, but it is used to exercise some power those who have no access to that particular knowledge system. So science and scientific discourses, they are not using in order to disseminate some sort of truth or some sort of idea about something, but to augment or amass power, that is, or exercise power. That is, scientific discourses seek to legitimize certain kind of knowledges and actually suppress oppositional knowledges in order to retain their stranglehold. So you can find that scientific discourses, usually everybody assumes that they are so objective in nature, though factual in nature, but scientific knowledges always will have an oppositional kind of knowledge, right? They'll have oppositional kind of knowledge, but they will suppress this oppositional kind of knowledge. They will assume that there is no oppositional kind of knowledge. They take such a kind of position for themselves, and they will legitimize the kind of knowledge that they will have, and all other oppositional or oppressive kind of knowledges that are opposite to this kind of discourse, scientific discourse, they'll reject all of them, and they will retain their power hold, their stranglehold over that kind of oppositional knowledge in order to suppress them, so that they could hold their own power. So scientific discourses, even they are not objective in true sense, but they are using as a tool to augment power or exercise power. So how they are exercising power, how knowledges are exercising power, you can refer to that video in which we have discussed about Foucault and how power and knowledge are related. Okay. And postmodernism acknowledges that all knowledge is fragmentary, partial and incomplete. So in postmodernism, no knowledge is complete. So in religious text, in political agenda, you will feel that, when you read them, they will present the knowledge, they will address a situation in such a way that they will reject existence of any other kind of knowledge, any other kind of ways to have redemption, any other kind of differences. They will all negate everything, and they will present an absolute knowledge, they will present a complete knowledge, they will present a full meaning and ultimate truth. But that is not possible, right? You cannot arrive at a possibly ultimate meaning. A meaning is always differing. Then how can you arrive at a complete meaning, complete knowledge, complete truth? So postmodernism view knowledge as fragmentary, always partial and always incomplete, unfinished. One can only utilize local knowledge, local knowledge to know a part of the truth. You can see a part of the truth. See, if you are seeing something in front of you, whatever you are seeing something in front of you, you just can see a part of that thing. Other thing that you assume that there is another side to that object, that whatever you are seeing. Take the example of a pen. See, you are seeing a pen. Pen has at least 4 sides, right? You have to look at from 4 sides at least in order to have a perception of that pen, in order to see that pen. If you are looking from up or if you are looking from down, you cannot see or assume that thing as a pen, right? but from your point of view you recognize that thing as a pen and you assume that there are other different side to that pen. So from your perception point, your local knowledge point of view, you know a partial truth about that pen. And the thing that you can do better is that you can assume that there are other sides to this pen. The same goes with any kind of reality. You can use your local knowledge that you have with you yourself, which is not complete, which is not full, which is not actually finished or ultimate. You can use that knowledge in order to understand that reality of that pen. Take the example of the pen, or any other object, or any other belief, or any other concept that you have in your mind. But when you negate the existence of the other side of the pen, then so that's what these meta narratives are doing. They actually negate the existence of the other side of the reality, the other side of the truth. But what I am seeing, what I am saying, that is the ultimate truth. Of course, you are perceiving it as a pen. Suppose the pen has another color in the another side, another feature in another side. You don't know about it, right? You cannot see it. But you can assume that from another point of view, it got another meaning, it got another perception. So that's what postmodernism is all about. It is fragmentary knowledge about, just like you can only see from where you are standing, only see a particular side of a pen. You cannot see other side of the pen from this standpoint. So your knowledge about that pen is fragmentary and partial and incomplete. So in that way, postmodern knowledges are also fragmentary, partial and incomplete. Thus the individual's experience, knowledge and voice is to be retrieved as a resistance and legitimation towards grand narratives that simply pass off one version of knowledge and reality as universal. So just like we are seeing a pen and perceive it as pen, and we negating all other reality, if you are negating the other perception that you can find about this pen standing from other point of views, when you are negating all those realities about this pen, that's exactly what grand narratives are doing. They are standing in one position and they are seeing a reality and they are explaining that reality or situation as universal, unquestionable. And it is they are representing it as absolute too, as absolute truth. But there will be always myriads of standpoints from where you can see this reality and arrive at myriads of realities and meanings and truths. So truth is not something that is so absolute. There is no one truth available. Universal truth is also not available. But grand narratives also, they are having a perception. They are also having an explanation, a kind of point of view about something from their standpoint. It is not universal, but they are representing it as universal. So the individual's experience and knowledge and voices should be carried out and should be retrieved as resistance and delegitimation towards grand narratives. Okay. So that's all about postmodernism and postmodern condition by Lyotard. I hope this was clear to you. And since they are talking about meaning, the plurality of meaning and all, it is relevant in cultural studies. And while we are looking at something, we have to understand that we are not having the full idea of anything. So that's all about this video. If you have any queries, questions, please don't hesitate to ask me in the comment section, or also mention your major takeaways in the comment section, so that I get a satisfaction that you had watched this video full and had some benefits out of it, and it also inspire the future students of this video and lecture series as well. And also, if you are interested to have the amazing courses that we are offering, please visit the website www.highpoint.in or message me or WhatsApp me in this given number to know more about the courses and bonuses that we are offering. And also don't forget to have and you make use of the free materials that we are providing in platforms like Instagram and YouTube in here. If you have not following there in Instagram, follow us if you are interested. And if you are interested in these videos and if you are interested in this kind of videos related to NTE, Net JRF, English language and literature, then obviously follow us for more detailed contents related to the same. Meet you in the next video session. Until then, stay tuned to High Point and happy learning.